Let's do
Tony,
it.
ready?
Yeah, let's
Okay.
go.
All right. Here we go. Let me get my finger on the button.
The red one.
All right. Three, two, one.
Welcome to another episode of RELICS Radio. This is a family-friendly show, so the entire family can join us as we talk metal detecting, relic, and treasure hunting. You can also call into the show at 270-495-0315 or join in the chat and post any comments or questions you might have. RELICS Radio is available live on the Spreaker app, but it's also archived wherever you get your podcast. You're listening to RELICS Radio.
Hey, everybody. DK here from Adventures in Dirt. Live with you here on RELICS Radio. Another Thursday night. Thursday night here in Colorado. We're on Mountain Time here. It's just a little after 6 p.m. I'm joined tonight, another Thursday night, with my buddy, my co-host, Tony from 5280 Adventures. Tony, how's it going, buddy?
Good morning, DK.
It's as cold as it has been in the morning, I'll tell you that, boy. We got our first real snow, and it's frigid.
It was brutal today. I don't think we're supposed to get snow till this afternoon, but it came early down here.
Yeah.
And it is cold. It is a cold, cold day. But Colorado, right? You got to expect it was going to hit sometime.
That's it. Yeah, I'm up north in Colorado, in case you're just listening and you haven't heard us talk about before. And Tony's down south in Colorado, and we're white up here. We've been white all day, just not heavy amounts. Supposed to, like you said, get a little worse tonight. Some accumulation, but yeah, I just look out there and I'm like, man, the season is just down, gone.
It turned.
As soon as I start seeing the white stuff.
Yeah, it turned. There's no doubt about it. We're into the winter time, but we still got this. We can still talk. We may not be out swinging, but we can still talk about it.
Sure.
That's the best part of it, right?
Yeah. People are releasing some great videos out there. Keep us excited about what others are watching. Boy, metal detecting is really just taking off on all the different social media, man. Between Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, like all kinds of different social media, Twitter, all kinds of stuff.
You keep up with it a lot more than I do, but man, it is. I don't know how you do it. I try, but man, it's time consuming. There's a lot of stuff going on out there.
Right. And, for me doing the weekly dirt show, I've always kind of got accustomed to watching a lot of YouTube videos because I kind of want to see what's going on out there week by week. I really don't get a chance to watch any of the other stuff very much. I'm always on Facebook because most of my family's on there and all my friends are on there. And, there's a lot of detectors friends of mine that are on there. So I keep up with them on Facebook a bit. I'm very rarely on Instagram, very rarely on TikTok. But on Twitter, I barely go on Twitter ever. But it's hard if you want to try to stay on top of it. Not only that, but if you're a guy that makes videos and you're going to try to post on all those social media platforms, it's almost impossible. Like it's just a lot of work. Yeah.
That's all right. It's good. We've been around a little bit, not very long, but we've been in the hobby for a little bit, and I can attest just from when we started in the hobby, in terms of social media and even YouTube, it has grown tenfold about who's doing it, who's putting out finds, who's going to. I mean, how many events were out there when we started detecting? 6 years, 5 years ago.
Yeah.
I mean.
Yeah, 6 years ago. Not very many at all.
Right.
There was
right.
Garrett maybe, and that's about it.
Yeah.
Yeah, DIV and Garrett, and that was about it. And then it's just exploded. And we even thought we were late to the game when you and I started. making videos and stuff. Because there's been people doing this since like 2006.
Right.
Dave Rose, Daddy Digger, the guy
There you
who's
go.
on our chat room all the time. He started. He was one of
He's
the
an
early
OG.
ones.
OG right there.
SC Digger, that guy's
Yep,
been
SC
around
Digger.
forever. Even Nugget Noggin's been
Yep.
around for a good time.
Yeah.
Just a lot of people have been around forever. And then, by the time we get involved with it, it's like 10 years had already gone by. It's crazy.
Yeah. Yeah.
How's your week, man? How's your week?
Been busy. Just working hard and enjoying life.
How do you deal with the chickens with this cold weather?
Oh, they
You got little sweaters for them? You put
yeah,
little sweaters
I've
on
knitted
and stuff?
sweaters for each of them. So we counted how many we have, right? You ready for this? I don't know if I've told you this.
I know you've been adding.
Chicken math is a real thing. I've got 59 chickens that I'm keeping over the winter. Last year I kept 7.
That's a big difference, man.
And I'll tell you, last week I already put in an order for next year's harvest and everything. We ordered, I don't know, 200 and some chickens for next year.
200 and something?
Yeah. Well, we got meat chickens. Oh, and I didn't tell you this either. We're doing turkeys next year.
I was going to ask you, man, if you were going to do that. No kidding.
We are. We're only going to do 10.
kidding.
We're only going to do 10. And the guy that I do the chickens with, he's going to designate one that we're going to be out in the field. He's going to throw it up in the air and I get to shoot it, and that way I can shoot a turkey.
That way you can go, yep, I shot a turkey.
I
this
can't
year.
I can't kill a turkey to save my life, but
How many times have you been out and got skunked? I don't want to make fun of you.
well, let's see
And I
who's
don't
in
want
the
to bring it up. I know it's a
let's see who's
sore
in the
subject.
chat.
Yeah, let's do that. Who's in the chat? Who's
Oh, Metal Diggers coming in strong first in the chat tonight. Detecting Addicts, always with us. Mr. Bill
guys?
Hayes saying hello, checking in with us. Mike Chamberlain, I had seen Mike had made a comment on Facebook, said he was going to try and check in with us tonight. It's good to see Mike.
Yeah, hey, Mike, how are you?
Yeah.
Yeah, good to see everyone popping in here. And if you're listening live, thanks for listening. And pop in the chat sometimes. We'll also open the phone lines here in about a half hour and stuff. But yeah, everyone's probably wondering, what does metal detecting have to do with chickens?
It's just what I do. It's
Yeah.
just, it's just hobbies, right?
Tony does chickens. That's what he does.
Yes.
My real job's not that romantic.
No.
Raising chickens kind of romantic. It's kind of like very
Hey,
personal
you
connection.
know
with
what?
those chickens.
I just got to say, chicks dig me.
Chicks are usually all over you, right? Can't keep their feathers off you.
That's right. Oh, gosh, yeah.
Right. I'm getting corny now. Time to bring our guest in and shut
I know.
this
Dad
down.
jokes coming on.
Yeah. Hey, you want to bring? Oh, we got a good guest.
I'm
Tony and I
ready.
both been talking all day that we're really looking forward to tonight. Let's bring him on. Tony, go for it.
If this doesn't get you excited for metal detecting, I mean, you guys, our guest tonight is somebody who is he's knee deep in metal detecting and finds in history and just an all around just an incredible detectorist. And if you guys aren't following him on Instagram, we're going to post a link here pretty soon, but you guys have to follow our guest tonight. The finds that this guy has, just incredible. And we're going to get into a whole bunch of different stories and topics and stuff tonight, and I'm really looking forward to this. But we're very lucky and blessed to have the Middle Tennessee Metal Detecting Club president on with us tonight, Mr. Aaron Lowe. Aaron, thanks for coming on.
How are you, Aaron?
Yeah. Hey guys, I'm great.
Oh, welcome to RELICS Radio, man.
Thanks a lot. I'm real excited to be here.
Excellent. Yeah, boy, when you said you'd come on, I appreciate. I really appreciated saying you'd give us some of your time and stuff. I've been wanting to get you on. I saw some of your posts on Instagram. I was saying earlier in the show, just a minute ago, that I'm not on there very often. But in the times I have been on, I saw your posts and I was like, man, that's pretty cool. And I think we messaged each other, and then I thought you'd just be a great guest to bring on here. And then as I dug into your story a little bit, I was like, yeah, yeah, man, he's in a lot of stuff. He's in a great area for history. Are you kidding? And I'm just really glad you can join us.
Well, thanks again. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So, whereabouts are you? So, Tony kind of let it out of the bag a little bit.
Oops.
Middle Tennessee, huh?
That's right. Yeah, I live real close to Murfreesboro, which that's in the dead center of the state. A lot of people have probably heard of the Battle of Stones River.
Yeah.
One of the largest battles in the Civil War that happened right here in Murfreesboro. And we're about 30 miles south of Nashville and 20 miles east of Franklin, two other, big battles. So we're kind of covered up with Civil War activity.
Yeah. Not much history going on there, boy. Yeah. Knee deep in it, that's for sure.
How prevalent?
How long have you been?
Go ahead.
Go ahead, Tony.
I was going to ask, how prevalent, because of the area that you're in there and you're talking about being, dead center of a whole bunch of stuff going on, how prevalent is metal detecting? Is it kind of like it is in Virginia where, you come out of the womb carrying a metal detector? Is that how it is kind of where you're at as well?
Well, it seems like it. It definitely seems like there's a lot of guys around here doing it. I think it's been pretty popular in this area for 50 years.
Yeah.
I know several of the old timers that started probably 50 years ago, and there's it seems like, especially in this area, if we have maybe a pretty big construction site, there's been times where you'll go out there to metal detect and there may be 20 other guys already out there. So this can get a little competitive to get on these some of those types of places first. So
yeah, and if your club, as Tony said, Aaron's president of the Middle Tennessee Metal Detecting Club, and if your club's anything like ours here in Colorado, man, the stories from the old timers are just so valuable. You hear the stuff they found and some of the sites they were able to get on. I mean, you had to have heard over the years just some amazing stories coming from some of those old timers in that historic area. You know what I mean?
Oh, definitely. We're lucky. We've got several guys in our club that are pretty active. That's they've been metal detecting for 30, 40 years, and it's just great to talk to them and hear the stories. You get jealous or kind of envious of how it seemed like back then they were, just finding bucket loads of things every day, which is totally different now. But it's we still definitely do find quite a few good things around here. There was just so much activity in this area during the Civil War, and there's still a lot of things out here.
Yeah.
Incredible.
So how long have you been into metal detecting, and what got you into it? Just part of your family all these years, or how long you been into it?
Yeah. My dad, Lanier, and our cousin Mark, they got into it. Gosh, I want to say 20 years, but it's probably more like 30 years ago. They got into it, and I was probably 10 or so at the time, and I would go with them every once in a while and just kind of follow them around. And I even had an old White's detector at the time, and I found a few things, very few things with it, just messing around, following them around. I just love walking through the woods and kind of exploring around. And but I, as I got older, my teens and 20s, I didn't really care anything about it, and they were still going a little bit. Or they slowed down some too. And I always remembered, I want to think, I'm somewhere around 13, 14 years ago, there was a construction site in Murfreesboro, and I seen that they were scraping some dirt, and I called my dad, and I think they went over there. And I remember that day there had to have been about 20 guys in this field, and it wasn't really all that big of a spot. But, people were finding stuff just left and right. And I actually, day I went out there, met them out there, and just kind of was walking around and watching everybody find stuff. And that's what, I said to myself, I've got to get one of these for myself. So I got a detector probably like that next day, I think. I got another White's machine from Larry Hicklin here in town, and went out there. Maybe it had to have been like within that same week, and I ended up finding quite a, probably 20 Civil War bullets and a few other things. And like I said, everybody was just finding stuff, but that really got me kind of hooked in or interested in it. So, and so probably in about the last 13 years, I've, really took it over, and that's been my main hobby ever since.
Yeah. Boy, construction site, Tony. Can you imagine?
I know.
That must be like gold there.
Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Anywhere.
Right. When I do research, that's one of the things is you have the old map and then you have a brand new map. And when you look at the old map, you identify, okay, it's right at this intersection per se or something like that. And then you look at the new map, you're like, well, crap, there's been a neighborhood there for 3 years. Why didn't I look at that 3.5 years ago and get out there while they were scraping it or something,
Yeah.
It's just a shame for us to see.
I was talking about, it literally is just across the road from the Stones River National Battlefield.
Oh my gosh.
So the battlefield in at least in Murfreesboro, I mean, it was over a huge area, Of course, the national park, today they only own a small portion of that area. So most of it, unfortunately, most of it today has been developed, and it's commercial properties, restaurants, and just stuff like that. And we have been lucky to be able to metal detect on a lot of these construction sites over the years. So it's sad. It's sad that probably the small portion of the battlefield is all that's left, but it is nice that most of the time we can get in on a site and save some things.
Is that generally what you kind of focus on? Would be the construction sites and that kind of thing?
Well, at times it just depends on what's going on. And back at that time, 10, 12 years ago, I mean, there was a ton of stuff going on in our area as far as construction. They built, just a ton of a mall and all kinds of commercial developments. And like I said, it was basically right on top of the battlefield. So during those years, there was a bunch of sites similar to this that a lot of things were found. But in the last couple of years, at least in that area, there's been, not that many sites open up. And, we try to hit them when we can. Or if I don't think I can get to it, I'll let somebody else know and at least hope that they can get in on it. But so at times that's been kind of my focus. But in the last few years, as those have slowed down, I've really been focusing on old home sites out in the country, kind of where we live, and then in the rivers. That's been my main focus.
Yeah, those rivers, a lot of undiscovered stuff. Like the last frontier, really. I mean, to find a virgin site these days, from what I hear from people, it's pretty darn rare, to find a site that, maybe home sites, maybe your best bet. I mean, like Tony and I do a lot of research here in Colorado, and trying to find maps and trying to overlay trails and old bird tracker trails and all that stuff, trapper trails, and trying to actually find locations is, and Tony and I are pretty good at it, but it's pretty slim.
Yeah.
And there's not a lot of documentation back then when it was Indian territory and then, developing into states, where I would think that place like Murfreesboro it's got a lot.
Just a little bit of documentation there. A little bit.
A lot of maps, a lot of instruction, a lot of stories, a lot of history, a lot of archives. Am I right there, Aaron? Or
yeah, there is, and I kind of do GIS mapping as my job, so I'm a kind of a map nerd to begin
It's
with.
not a
I've
bad
always
thing.
just loved reading. Yeah, I've always loved reading maps, looking at maps, and now I do it for a living. But they're probably the best map that we have available is, and I know this company back in like 1870s, it was DG Beers out of New York, and they made several maps in this area at least, and they made just an awesome map of our entire county of Rutherford County. And then on that map they showed, of course, the roads, and then also they showed a little dots for every house that was there at that time, and even wrote out the name of the people
Yeah.
that lived there.
That's great.
And so, that's 1870s. And so I've actually overlaid that map with a current map, and it's very accurate. And so I've really used it to locate these home sites.
That's great.
Throughout the country. And we still have, we find them every year that they've never been detected. I mean, we're just out in the middle of nowhere in the woods. And so we've really prioritized those the last couple of years, and we've had some pretty good luck at those places.
Yeah. Great. I mean, that sounds like a perfect map. I mean, Tony and I are always looking for maps like that,
Yeah.
Every now and then you come across a gem. You're like, oh my gosh, look at all the information contained on this one. And so yeah, when you, it's awesome when you get your hands on that. What did you say you did? You actually do GIS mapping? Is it you do a lot of that?
Yes, I do for my job. They kind of, again, I kind of just, have a knack for reading the maps or even doing like an overlay and stuff like that. So that helps out a little bit.
Yeah. Yeah. Very cool. So you do your research. How do people generally, I got to think the home, I'm just trying to put myself in your state there, in your position. Over the years, do a lot of these homeowners tell you, oh, this thing's been hunted to death? Oh, I'm tired of people asking me. Do you get a lot of that when you're trying to get permissions?
We have pretty good luck. I mean, people around here are still, pretty open to it. You definitely hear the stories, the obvious spots that are just the big obvious spots that everybody drives by every day. Yes, those are the spots. They've definitely been hunted out.
Yeah.
Or at least been hunted many times over the years, and you'll hear that from those people that so and so's been coming out here for years. And so I normally I don't even waste my time too much on them, but generally out in the country here, most people, you hardly, most people are very open. Rarely do I really get turned down, and a lot of times I'm not big on just door knocking on strangers' houses. A lot of my permissions I get through other people, or I find out, just asking around, just talking to people that own property, and maybe talk to them, or talk to a neighbor or whatever. But we generally didn't have too many problems, getting permission on these spots.
Yeah, word of mouth is a good thing.
Absolutely.
Dropping names and say, hey, we were over at John's house over there in the corner, and he had said that that this was an older house as well. Just want to know if we can come over or something like that.
Yeah.
Using your resources.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a lot of people get frustrated and they act like there's nowhere to detect. And I mean, it's so easy.
Yeah.
Just to start asking people, and I always tell, especially new people in the hobby that come to our club, they ask, where do you go, or how do you, start? And I always just tell people, just start asking your family members, of people you work with, and just start asking, talking to people, and you'll find out, oh, I work with this person, and they're a family farm, and just it's real easy to get spots like that.
Right. Do you guys get a lot of new beginners coming in? What's been the attrition of new beginners coming through the door at the club these days? You still getting pretty steady stream of new people beginning the hobby?
Oh yeah, we have a meeting. First off, we have a meeting every month in Nashville, and just about every month we'll have a couple of visitors, and a lot of times, they're just completely new to the hobby. Of course, right after Christmas, a lot of people will get their first detector. It seems like Christmas. So we always have a bunch of visitors, January. You have a lot of guys that maybe they detected some 20 years ago and then just got out of it, and now they're getting back into it. So, yeah, it's definitely, we have a lot of people in this area that get interested in it and come to the club.
Do you guys have any special events or any special weekend gatherings or anything for the beginners? I know in our club we have something we call a breakfast club, and I think some of the old timers, some of the people that are retired, they'll go out and like one Friday a month and then a Saturday a month they'll meet at a restaurant, have some breakfast, and then gather up and go hit a park or something, just to get beginners out there with them. They kind of show them how to cut a plug and how to probe hunt. Here in Denver, a lot of our parks are probe hunting only. Can't use any kind of digging utensil, but you can probe. And so we have those clubs. It's kind of like getting beginners out, and they can learn about their machine. They can try other machines and stuff like that, and they seem to really enjoy it.
Yeah, I've looked at your club's website before, and I know y'all do a lot of great things like that. And you're probably a lot bigger as far member wise than ours too. But no, we don't do anything like that. We like I said, we have a meeting once a month, and then we have our big club hunt. That's once a year in October, and we do a couple other events each year where we set up a booth. And but as far as other little get-togethers, now every once in a while we'll get lucky and have a club hunt on more like a private property. And unfortunately, like the parks around here, in some areas are some like city parks are off limits, the metal detecting, or it's especially if we try to get a group, they'd probably draw a lot of attention and wouldn't be a good thing. But so unfortunately we don't really have any good places like public parks to where we could get together like that.
Yeah. Farmer John, can we bring 40 people out to your field?
Those are difficult. We've had a few we had a farm 6 or 7 years ago, and we had 2 or 3 club hunts out there. And wow. we actually, there were a few really good things found during our club hunt. One member found a Confederate frame buckle, belt buckle, and another guy found a Confederate block eye button, and a few other Civil War items. But so that's been a few years ago. We would love to get on another spot like that. But you're right, it's getting a spot, and we're having a private farm, and them just saying okay to 50 people to come out there. That's kind of hard to do.
I would love to have one of those types of permissions out here that we could do something like that.
Because every now and then the club will get one, right, Tony? Every once in a great while.
Yeah, but most of our hunts are seated hunts or organized hunts, just because we don't have those kind of permissions. But just to keep everybody busy, that kind of thing. So we do a lot of organized hunts here.
Right.
And I always wonder on some of these YouTube channels, have multiple people on them, like how does Quarter Hoarder or Hoover Boys, those guys, I wonder how they go about, knocking on doors and communicate if my buddies come, digging your yard,
I've thought the exact same thing on some of those videos, there'd be 6 guys in a small yard, and I don't see that's, and at times, when I'm getting permission, I'll ask if myself and my dad can go, and then, even asking for a third person, our cousin, sometimes you know,
It feels
sometimes
awkward.
you're lucky just to get permission for yourself, and then when
Right.
you start trying to add a couple, two
Right.
more people, it makes it a little more difficult.
There's nothing
100%.
more awkward than standing there on their front porch and they say, yeah, go ahead, have yourself a good time. You turn around and you whistle, and all of a sudden people start piling out of like clowns
Right.
in the circus,
Clowns out of a car.
piling out of a car. And well, wait a minute,
Yeah, right.
you know,
We're always concerned with that. I remember,
yeah,
so Tony and I are digging partners, and we have another good partner, Beth, that goes out with us a lot, and she recently moved away, so we're back down to 2. But when there was 3 of us, you know, we would do a bunch of research, all of us, and one of us would come up with a great target, a great idea, and we'd go down there, and sure enough, we'd see the place perfect. We just need to get on this. We need to go ask permission. And so one, you know, rock, paper, scissors, who's going to go up there and ask for permission? And the other 2 would hang back. And I remember one time I was late. I was late getting to the spot. And Tony and Beth both approached the house because they saw the lady out there with her horse in the field. And they kind of went up to approach her together. And I'm rolling in. I'm rolling into this really rural area, I mean, where they can see my car coming a mile away. And I was like, oh, man. So I'm texting Tony. You know, I pull over, text Tony. I'm like, what should I do? He goes like, well, just wait over there, or, you know, drive by and keep rolling. You know what I mean? We didn't want to, until they got her permission to say, oh yeah, and our buddy's coming to join us too. You okay with that? You know?
right.
So I did. I drove right past him. I saw him out the front porch. I didn't even look over at him. I just kept driving by, pulled up around the corner, and was just waiting.
We tried to keep it at 3. I mean, we kind of felt like the size of the properties we were trying to get on. 3 seemed like a pretty good number. Anything more than that, you know, kind of was like, we felt like we were maybe taking advantage of permissions and stuff. So it's a tough thing to juggle, though.
Yeah.
Are you pretty much just with your dad when you go out? Do you have any other people that you hunt with in addition to that?
Oh yeah, my dad and cousin, when all 3 of us, we're basically neighbors. So
Okay.
we're definitely the main hunting buddies. Got some other friends nearby in our club that I'll get out with. My friend David Knight, he lives in Nashville. Sometimes I'll go up and meet him in Nashville every once in a while, or other places. And so normally, like, if it's a big site and a bunch of people out there, you know, you always know half of them out there. So yeah, that's my main kind of my digging partners there, my dad and cousin Mark.
Gotcha.
Now, right there in you said Rutherford County, is like, do you travel very much to get to go to permissions? Like, I know Tony and I will travel 2 hours away, 3 hours away to go hit a choice spot that maybe we researched that we got permission for. Are you guys just real close? I mean, it looks like you throw a stone and you know, have a bazillion places to go.
Well, yeah, we definitely are lucky. I rarely ever drive more than like 15 minutes. I mean, that would be kind of rare.
Stop teasing.
Tony, we're moving.
Stop teasing, geez.
Oh my goodness. That's great.
I mean,
it's awesome.
Congratulations. Yeah, that's about how far I am from the town of Murfreesboro. Like I said, you know, we're 45 minutes from Nashville or Franklin, which I don't go very often. Do I ever really go over there? I usually just pretty well stay close to home. And we, you know, just don't really have to, I guess. And I definitely know, you know, y'all out there, definitely may have to travel a little bit more, which you got to do. Sometimes you got to do what you got to do.
Yeah.
So I don't believe you one bit.
Yeah, no. Yeah, we do what we got to do, and we'll gladly do it. I mean, you know, we're even talking about doing some trips next year to Kansas, you know, maybe 7 or 8, just because we got some buddies over there that are on some good property and invited us out, and we've had them out here. So
and it ties into Colorado too, the places that we're hunting. Yep. So, you know, we're on the west side of the trail. They're on the east side. You know, let's meet in the middle and find some more stuff together. So yeah, I think I mean, gosh, I drove. It was like 3.5 hours out to Julesburg. Just to get up there for that one. So yeah, there's some driving involved.
Yeah, if it's an
But it's
important
worth it.
site, we'll
Yeah.
get on the gears and,
Yeah.
and get out there for sure.
Yeah.
What about traveling? Like you for events and stuff? Like before the show, we were chatting and you talked about going to DIV. Have you been to many DIVs?
I think I've been to 3 of them, and 2 of them were, back to back in the same week. That was, I think 2016, maybe, when I went out there, and then I went back another time. So I've done that a few times. I did. Me and my friend David. I think 3 years ago, we went to the Garrett hunt in Texas, and that was a lot of fun. We really had a lot of fun there. I think I remember seeing some of your club members at it.
Yeah,
we have a couple that try to get
go
down there. Yeah,
Yeah,
not too far for us.
that was a lot of fun. As far as like a hunt, seated hunt like that. Now that's the only one I've ever been to besides my club's hunt.
Yeah.
I am lucky. My mom is from Maryland, and we still have family up there. And normally we'll go up there once a year, spend a week visiting with them. And I started taking my detector up there 5 or 6 years ago, and I've actually been extremely lucky on getting on a couple colonial sites up there, and even finding a few Civil War relics around Antietam. So
Wow.
that's really become kind of my big trip, or as far as detecting every year, especially the last 2 or 3 years when I've discovered these couple colonial sites, and I've had some really good luck up there.
Yeah.
I got to tell you though, if I lived in that area, you said that you headed up there, you took your detector with you. I would it's like, okay, I've got my wallet, I got my sunglasses, I got my keys, got my detector. Anytime I'm walking out the door, I would have my detector with me. You just you never know when you come across something.
Don't leave home without it. Sure.
Oh, I know. It's up there. They live in Western Maryland, which it's right near, real close to West Virginia and Pennsylvania. And just driving around, every house is built in the 1700s.
Right.
And it blows my mind. Here where we live, that there's hardly any houses built in the 1700s. In an early, really a mid 1800s house here is really old. And some of these little cabin sites that we find, they were early 1800s. But even those places here, we rarely ever find anything. Those folks just didn't have they didn't have any money, they didn't have anything to lose. But they're still fun to detect around. But up there in that part of the country, Maryland, Virginia, it's just incredible, the old history. And and I just got completely lucky on a couple properties I got permission on, and ended up as far as I know, I found like 2 virgin colonial house sites, one on each property, and I've just done really well there.
Wow.
That's great.
Hey, if you're just listening, if you're just joining us, you're listening in on the show tonight. We're talking with Aaron Lowe. He's the current president of the Middle Tennessee Metal Detecting Club. He is out there in Tennessee finding the history. I'll tell you what, he's got a great Instagram page where you can go over and check out a lot of the pictures he's put up, some of his finds he's put out. The Metal Detecting Club also has a Facebook page. And we're going to go ahead and post those links not only in the chat, but we have them right down below in the description of this podcast. So if you're listening later on the replay, look down in the description and head on over there. We really need to get to this war log. That's why so one of the reasons why I brought you on here, but real quick, head on over to that Metal Detecting Club website and check it out. I was reading through there today, and just the list of books you have in your club library is amazing. And I saw one in particular that I never heard of before, and I'm definitely going to need to get it. It's called Never Mace a Skunk. And I think I need to get a hold of that one. It sounds interesting to me. Never Mace a Skunk. You ever read that book?
No.
I haven't. I believe that's the Butch Holcomb is involved with that one.
Well, that
believe
explains
that's
a lot.
correct. Yeah,
Sounds like
I've
a
never
Butch
actually read it myself.
publication.
Yeah,
Yeah,
right.
it does.
Yeah.
Oh man, I was watching a video with him today. He's got a pet squirrel. Did you see that, Tony?
No, I did.
Oh, yeah.
Butch has a pet squirrel named Peanut.
He
Yeah.
was running around
great.
on the back of his shoulders, and oh yeah, I couldn't
That was
believe
awesome. So Aaron, you're out there detecting, right? You said I think you're out there detecting with your dad, and why don't you tell us the story of how you came upon this this find that we're calling the war log? Can you give us some background history on that without getting too specific
Well,
on location?
yeah. Well, yeah. Actually, I was by myself that day. And I haven't mentioned my wife Tara, and we had a baby Hannah back last October, so she just turned a year old. So
Excellent.
this past year, I've hardly done well, especially this summer. I've really done hardly any detecting, and I got in the river once or maybe twice with my dad earlier in the summer, and anyway, it was getting kind of towards the end of summer. I think it was in late August, and I called him. I only had probably a few hours to go, and he was busy, so I just went by myself. And I went back to a spot that we really just it was kind of new to us of last year. We went to it last year a few times, really for the first time, and we've found a few pretty good things. I think the first time we were there, found several Civil War bullets, and then I found a complete bayonet, and it was a great find. Found a few other odds and end things. I found the hooks out of a buckle, and a trigger guard off of a musket. And then I think later last year, my cousin found a Hotchkiss artillery shell in this area.
Wow.
Like in the water?
So, yeah, in the river.
Wow.
And found several bullets, and all this stuff from this. I mean, I'm talking once you get in the river, at this location, you could literally start finding things. The second you step your foot in the river, Civil
That's
War
amazing.
items. And then we wade down the river. Typically, we'll just wade down the river and probably, I want to say close to a mile. It may not be that far, but through that whole distance, you could find, relics anywhere down through there. So, anyways, last year it was the first time we went there. So, back in August, I had a few hours, so I went back over there, and I was just happy to go. I was just happy to get out of the house and get in the river for a couple hours. And I found a couple bullets, Civil War bullets, pretty quick. So I was really pretty happy just to find them. I didn't really expect too much that day. And I found something really kind of cool. If you probably maybe seen it on my Instagram page. I found this little pouch. It's like a Case Logic, little zippered pouch that, somebody maybe had a digital camera in years ago or a cell phone. And I found this little pouch, and when I picked it up, I could feel that, there was stuff inside it. And when I unzipped it, I'm, standing there in the river. It was completely full of just a bunch of jewelry.
Oh my goodness.
Yeah, it kind of blew me away because, first off, I rarely ever find any jewelry, rings, or anything like that, just because I'm usually, out detecting these really old sites. So, anyways, I saw that and I thought, man, that's awesome. It turns out they were pretty much all just junk. I think there was 2 or 3 silver rings in it, a silver earring. There was like 12 rings, a couple necklaces, it was just full of stuff.
Jeez.
So anyways, that was, a really cool find. So I found that and went on down the river a little bit. And I came up on a spot, and as soon as I got there, I immediately remembered that a year ago there was this huge tree that had fell basically across the river. So it was growing out of, say, the left-hand riverbank, and it fell over and was literally blocking the river. And I just remembered that because last year we would have to go around it, on the far right-hand side, just to kind of get around it. So when I got up to this spot this year, I immediately noticed that tree was gone. It just wasn't. It was completely gone. And that's really one kind of a tip or advice I always give people about the rivers, is they're kind of like always changing. Especially, we get some pretty big rains, floods normally during the winter months. So obviously during this past winter, we had a big, probably a couple of big floods, and it just washed that tree and just moved it. It was just completely gone, which is interesting. But when I saw that, I thought to myself, oh, well, that bank on the left-hand side where that tree had been, I know for a fact we never really detected in that little area,
Yeah.
So that's what I went straight over there, and I got in that little area near the bank, and I found a fired Civil War bullet. And
in the bank,
thinking, okay.
like in the roots of the tree type thing.
Well, no, it was in the near the bank, probably 5 or 6 feet from it.
Yeah.
And then I started finding more of them. I started finding several, and they were all fired 3-ringers.
All fired, wow.
Jeez.
Yeah, they were all fired bullets, and they were all just in this kind of a small area, pretty close to the bank there. And as I'm finding them, I'm getting closer and closer to the actual, bank of the river. And then I noticed there was a log laying down in the water, and I'm finding bullets just right up against it. And so there was like a little spot where I could kind of stick my coil under that log a little bit, and it was still, it was going off. So I got down with my pen.
You had to be wondering what's going on. What's this all about?
Yeah, well, I mean, and I started just pulling out all these fired bullets. They were so I found a bunch of them just directly under this log. And I mean, it was kind of one of those deals where I don't know if you've ever, it's only happened to me a few times where it's kind of bad to say, but it's like you kind of get tired of digging them. You find like so many, which trust me, that's only happened to me twice in my life. But
I've seen the White Oak Museum. I know you can find too many.
Yeah.
Right. Oh my goodness.
Right. So I started finding, they were all just, and their fired bullets are just kind of ugly and, not the best thing to find. And I was actually wanting to just kind of keep on going down the riverbank, but like I said, I was sticking my pin pointer under this log, and there was quite a bit of mud right under the log. And so my pin pointer was just going off, and I was pulling out, just digging out with my hands, the mud and finding these bullets. And then, so then I found a bullet, and when I grabbed it, it had like a round, it was still in a piece of wood, and it's hard to explain, but it was like a little round cocoon. It almost looked like it was just stuck in this little round piece of wood. It was just crazy. I've never found anything like that before, and I've always just thought that stuff was cool. I've even several years ago, at the Civil War show, I bought a bullet stuck in wood. You see those. There's a bullet in a piece of wood. To me, that's cool.
That's so
very
cool.
Yeah.
Rare, and just highly collectible and just cool. I mean,
displays beautiful.
Right.
Yeah, it's just unusual and cool. And honestly, it's just something that people don't find here, and I never even thought about finding one. But so I found that one bullet, and it's just in this little round piece of wood. And then I found a couple more like that, and 2 or 3 more. And then I could feel my hand under that log, and I could feel like another a couple more that they were still stuck to the log. Well, I mean, at this time, I'm not even really thinking about I hadn't really comprehended, what's going on here. And I just, with my hand, I literally just pulled on it and broke it off. I broke off a couple of these. I know for a fact I broke off at least 2 of these bullets still stuck in the wood. And so they were still stuck to the log. And and then I could feel more of them. I could feel a few more stuck to the log, and they were, I couldn't break them off. They were really stuck on there good,
Yeah.
So that's when I kind of realized, I was like, hey, this is pretty cool. I mean, I was happy with what I'd already found. And then now I'm thinking, hey, there's a couple more of these still stuck on this tree. And I'm thinking this would be really cool if I brought a saw over here and just like cut out. I'm thinking I could cut out like a little piece of this log, maybe like a foot wide. And maybe it had like 2 or 3 of these bullets still stuck up to it. So that's kind of that was my thought at that time. Basically that was it for that day. I had to leave, and I kind of had already, I ended up finding, I think I found like 26 Civil War bullets that day. And I think about 24 of them were right there under that log.
All under
And
the
that
log.
that really was, that maybe is the most bullets I'd ever found in a single day.
Whew.
I'm pretty sure that was the most I'd ever found anywhere, any day. So that was pretty much it for that day. And I went home thinking, man, I'd like to go back and like cut out a little piece of that.
Right. I mean,
So,
you look at you when I was looking through the pictures, it was like,
Yeah.
it was right next to the bank. There was this eroded bank that was eroded away, big old, roots of the tree kind of sticking down into the river and stuff. And, you come along, it's not real common, but I've seen more people find banks of, stores of drop bullets or unfired bullets in bulk like that in different areas.
Yeah.
Either, came down in a cartridge can or something and spilled or something, but they, but fired all in the same place. You got it, you're like, how, what were they all shooting in this one direction? Were they, but then you find that
Target
log
practice?
and you start piecing the clues together, right?
Yeah.
Amazing.
Yeah. And, I've done that a few times where I found several kind of in one spot. And actually, last year in that same general area, just probably like 100 yards down the river, kind of around the bend of the river, I found just in one little area, I found probably 10 or 12 fired bullets. And and also to kind of add to the context of everything, on the one side of the river, or the opposite side, there was a pretty large camp, Union camp, during the war. So I'm thinking, when you find something like that, at least several fired bullets in one small area, I'm immediately thinking, well, they walked over there and they had a target practice, or, they were basically standing on one bank and just fired their muskets across the river into a tree, or just just target practice. That's what I always.
Maybe they didn't
figured.
have what is that thing called where you screw it in and then they pull the bullet out.
The ejector, the bullet ejector thing.
Yeah, the worm.
The worm,
or
yeah.
bullet,
Maybe they didn't have those, and for them to unload, they just shot it.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Right. Yeah, and I think they did that a lot. I think,
Yeah. It's a heck of a lot easier.
We found several of the, or we really don't, you do find some bullets that have been pulled. But I think, I think a lot of the times they would probably just go shoot the gun. If they needed to unload it,
Right.
they would just, that was easier than pulling it out.
Right.
So they would just go shoot it, and maybe they went to the same spot every day and shot it kind of in the same area or the same, aimed at the same tree or rock. That's our, kind of my theory anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah. Were you able to identify different types of bullets once you started looking at what was in that tree? Did you have a variety, or were they all very similar?
I think they're all
balls.
the same. Yeah. 3-ring mini balls.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We're looking at the pictures. If you guys go to Aaron's Instagram page, which we have the link in the chat, and we also have a link down below in the description, and you click on one of the pictures, he has a few pictures attached to it. So once you open up a picture, there's a great picture of him sitting on this log or next to the log, and you can see a bunch of the bullets in the log. And then as you scroll through, you're seeing more pictures of them kind of dealing with this log later on. But how many did you start noticing were in this log? Like, more than 5, more than 10? What were you thinking?
Well, so the day I found it, I really I could definitely feel a 3 or 4. And I really just thought that's how many were in it or still in it, 3 or 4.
Jeez.
So when I left that day, that was what I thought, and I just thought, like I said, I could just cut out a small little section and just take home that little section,
Yeah.
log. So,
and that would have been cool, right? That would have been cool.
Right.
Yeah. Oh, man. Yeah,
it would have been lighter too.
Find of the
been
year.
awesome.
Find of the year. Yeah.
So, and also, I probably did add that the log, it was completely underwater, but there was really only a little bit of water on top of it. So, if that makes sense, it was just under the the surface.
Yeah.
It was 6 or 8 inches, and the river there is pretty shallow to begin with. It's only about knee deep.
Yeah. Yeah, the pictures
So
show that real well too. Yep. Pictures show that real well.
So basically I went home, thinking about it, and called my dad and told him what I'd found, and so we kind of started thinking like a game plan on like going back and cutting this little piece out, and so we planned on it was like really like 2 weeks later we planned on going back, and this time we've got a kayak, so we took the kayak, and in my head, like I felt like the log was only like about 12 inches wide and maybe 8 inches thick. And so like when we were planning on cutting this out, I thought, we could just take like a little hand saw. I've got, one of those bow saws.
Yeah.
That should
cut right through it.
Yeah, no problem. That should do it. So we took it and we went back, and and first off, so we thought, we need to kind of dislodge this log. It's stuck down in the mud, and then there was a tree growing in the bank, and some of those roots of that tree had kind of came over top of this log, and there was really only like 2 roots that were kind of growing over top of it. So we figured, we need to dislodge it first. And so I did cut the one root was like as big around as your arm, and it just cutting it was wasn't that easy with that little saw. So I did that, and then then after we cut that one root and maybe another smaller one, we kind of got the log and wiggled it and kind of dug it out, and it kind of popped loose from the mud, pretty easily, really. And then that's kind of when I also realized this thing's a lot bigger than I originally thought. So,
it was huge. Are you kidding? I was looking at those pictures. And I was thinking, glad that canoe floated after that. They were huge.
Yeah, it's probably like 10 or 12 feet long. But again, I didn't plan on. I'm just thinking about cutting out a little piece of it, right?
Yeah.
but once we got it dislodged, we rolled it over, and then that's when we saw, hey, there's several bullets still stuck in this tree. You know, originally I thought there were maybe 2 or 3 or 4, and then once we flipped it over, we saw several still stuck in the tree, and not just one little area. They were from one end to the other. So almost the whole length of this log had bullets stuck in it.
Probably definitely target practice, right? I mean,
Right.
First of all, the tree is thick. It's a big tree.
Yeah.
So it was being a great, target for them to shoot at. And, man, it's incredible. I was reading your story on your Facebook page, and you're talking about how much they weighed and kind of how you had to try to get them out of the river. And because, they being logs, I'm sure they would float a little bit. But you got to get them out of that water, and you got to get them up the banks and into some kind of vehicle, and that's another story. Hey, real quick, Aaron, quick. I want to tell everyone else that's listening live right now, we're going to go ahead and open up the phone lines. If you want to have a question for Aaron about this story, about the war log, or anything that he's mentioned tonight, feel free to call in. Phone number here is 270-495-0315. Again, 270-495-0315. Call on in, and then we'll put you on the air. You can ask your question and see if Aaron would answer it for you. Tony, we have a question in the chat, don't we?
Yeah, before we get to it, we're going to jump back into the story here in a second, but Ohio Relic Hunter in the chat, the live chat here on Spreaker.com, he asked what kind of wood was the log, and have you counted the rings to see how old it is?
That's a great question, and everybody keeps asking me that. And no, I don't know what kind of wood it is, but it definitely is a heavy, very dense wood, and we're guessing it's an oak. And I've actually I've talked to a couple people recently, and I want to try to send a piece of it off to figure out what kind of wood it is, because everybody keeps asking that, and it would be just kind of cool to know, but I'm guessing it was an oak or something similar.
Nice.
Yeah. It looks amazing. I mean, you can see all these pictures on his Instagram page if you want to go over there and check it out. He also has a cool story. I think he's got a 3 or 4 part story that he wrote along with the photos. So it's just a great story to look in. So you see all these bullets in this tree, and you're like, okay, we got to get this out of here. So you start, I guess at some point you decide to cut it up. And then how'd you guys get, how many pieces, first of all, how much do you think they weighed? And then how'd you end up getting them out of the river?
Well, so the day we flipped it over and I had the handsaw, I started cutting the log itself with it, and we realized pretty quick that this was not going to work. I mean, it seemed like we cut for, I don't know how long, 20 minutes, and barely did anything. So we definitely realized that that was not going to work. So we figured we were going to have to definitely do something different. So we ended up leaving that day, the second trip. And I will add, that day I found like 13 more bullets just loose kind of under the log. So me and Dad left the log that day and went home, and kind of we really just had to think about it and come up with a game plan and figure out how to get this. So definitely we figured we would need a chainsaw, and I've got a canoe, and we had a kayak also. So we took the canoe and a kayak and a chainsaw, and we brought our cousin Mark with us this trip. So we figured, we're definitely gonna need some help. And so we made another third trip to it, and this time once we got down there to it, we were able to cut it up using the chainsaw. So the log was roughly 10 to 12 feet long, and we ended up cutting it up into 3 pieces. And we obviously it would have been just incredible to leave it in one piece, but everybody it would have been impossible to get it out. One, it was probably 3/4 of a mile, half a mile from where we parked the truck, and it's just not accessible. It's not like we could just drive a truck right down to it. There's just no way. So we made the decision and we figured out where we wanted to cut it up. And so we ended up cutting it up into 3 pieces. And then we loaded the 2 big pieces into the canoe, and each piece is probably like 3 to 3.5 feet long. And I'm guessing that they probably each weighed over 200 pounds. So, it was, when we put both of them in the canoe, luckily I have a pretty large canoe, and it just about, bottomed it out. But luckily it floated. And then the third piece is about that same length, but it was kind of like the end of the log, and it was not as heavy.
More tapered.
So, so we got them in the canoe, and then got it down to the, basically the location where we park. And another thing we did that turned out to be just kind of a brilliant idea is my dad has one of these little wagons that you use like around the yard, and you pick up sticks, like a little metal wagon with rubber tires.
Yeah.
So we brought it along because from the edge of the water to the truck, luckily it's not like a horrible long distance, but it's rough, and we figured, well, maybe we can put the piece in the little wagon and pull it. So we did that, and that turned out to be just like a brilliant idea.
Yeah.
And then our second,
looking at the picture here, it's on the Instagram there. That was the best idea right there. You got the canoe, you got the garden cart. Work smarter, not harder there.
Exactly. And then so like the next probably, and then beyond that, the where we park the truck, there's an extremely steep little hill, and we were already thinking like there's no way we can pull this up this hill, but my dad's truck has a winch on it. So we pulled the cable out of the winch.
That's
to
great.
The bottom of the hill, hooked it to the wagon, and winched it up the hill. So that
Perfect.
was definitely the second most brilliant thing we did that day.
Right.
Perfect.
Yeah. There's a will, there's a way, man.
Yeah. So once we figured out all of that as far as cutting it and then getting it to the truck, that we really, didn't have too much of a trouble that day. And Mark was there, so he helped, and so we got them home. So that was at least
quite the project.
Yeah, definitely quite the project.
Well, that was just to get it back, just to get it out of the water.
Yeah. That is amazing. Yeah. It's an incredible story. First to find, And here's what I'm sitting in the back of my mind. Here's what I'm thinking. Tony and I were talking about this the other day. You discuss this hobby of metal detecting. You discuss this passion that we all have for metal detecting, right? And if you're talking to somebody that's not in it, what's the first thing they always say? Like, well, what's the best thing you found, and how much is it worth? They all want to know how much things are worth,
right.
Right. And all they're thinking about is what gold have you found? What valuable treasure have you found? You know what I mean? And they wouldn't even believe that we've just spent an hour and a half talking about a piece of wood. You know what I mean?
So the bullet was in the wood?
Yeah, right. So, where was the gold, So, yeah, I mean, Tony and I are sitting here transfixed on your story, just
I know.
Putting ourselves right there. Like I could almost feel the coolness of the water listening to your story and looking at the pictures, too. That's what's cool. If you're listening on the replay, I highly recommend you heading over to Aaron's Instagram and load these pictures as you're listening to his story. It really helps tell the story for sure.
It's amazing.
That's a big old wagon he's got there. My gosh.
Yeah, I like that. And
the look on your dad's face. He's like, "This is working. This is perfect." Like you just, found a cure for some dreaded disease. You guys got it.
I mean, when we first realized how big it was and where it was located, I mean, it was at first almost impossible, thought to get it out of there, get it home. I mean, we didn't know how we were going to do it, but once we kind of figured it out, it turned out to be, really great. And it definitely added to the story. And then kind of like you talk, when you show people that doesn't, are not into the hobby like we are, or don't really know anything about the relics, they're thinking like probably I'm crazy. Who would want a old piece of tree with some bullets in it? Like, but it's definitely like the coolest thing I've ever found. And then, if you even try to talk about like a value, I have no idea what it would be worth, because I've still yet to find, really a similar example of something like this. So who knows what it would be worth. But it definitely is like one of the coolest things that's probably ever been found in our area. Just kind of the cool factor.
Yeah, totally unique. You can we can totally understand that. Like, you can find relics all the time. You can find individual relics buried in the ground, in odd places. It makes you wonder, what was this doing here? If you're lucky enough, you come upon a camp that no one has discovered before, and it's like the jackpot and stuff. But something like that, where it really takes you back. You're like, this tells us, or with pretty almost certainty, what these soldiers were doing right here at this spot. We knew there was a camp over on that side, and look what they were doing. They were sitting here shooting this tree, and it just takes you there. Just like when you go to the DIVs, right? Anytime you go to a DIV hunt, you can almost feel and see those soldiers camping there through the winter and stuff, and how they lived by the things you find, the things you bring up out of the ground and out of those pits. You know what I mean? So like, this is almost like finding a pit. Like, you discover something personal about those soldiers that were there, thinking about what they went through and everything. And then it's just an amazing discovery, like absolutely crazy discovery. Congratulations, man.
That's crazy.
Your dad had to be excited too. Like, what does the rest of the family think about it? Like, is the rest of the family into the whole relic hunting, or they think you're off your rocker a little bit? And they're all listening right now, right? I want to say a shout out to his dad. I think he's got some of his family listening there. So hello from me to you. But what do they think about it, Aaron?
My mom and now my wife, I think they've always somewhat enjoyed it. Think it's pretty cool. This is definitely again, to most people, when you start talking about a piece of a log, and especially when you start trying to tell my wife that, hey, I'm gonna put this in the house, I don't know. I don't know what she thinks is cool. I don't know if how excited she is about me bringing this in the house, but I'm gonna find a place for it, definitely.
That's awesome. We're following, the question of what kind of wood had come up in the chat there, and looks like everybody's trying to figure it out just based upon those pictures. I think we might have a confirmation. They said just judging by the amount of bullets in it, they think it's dead wood, and it probably died of lead poisoning.
There you go.
It's dead wood. Died of lead poisoning.
Yeah.
Bum bum bum.
Yeah. There's a bunch of those guys out there.
That's funny. They're having a good time with it in the chat.
They are. They're going back and forth on it. They want to know actually preserving the log. What kind of steps have you taken to preserve it thus far?
Yeah. Well, So once we got it home, that was just like half the challenge, right? So. We got it home. We put it on the ground, and we luckily, I had to work all week, so my dad kept it wet, would just spray water on it, and he covered it with a tarp. So just until we could kind of fool with it for a few days, and we then, first off, the two big pieces, they're probably like 200 pounds each. So I really wanted to be able to get these pieces at least light enough where we could, move them around. You know what I mean? So like, I wanted to be able to move them into the house, or if I ever had to like move it around, and I definitely wanted it to, I wanted to be able to at least take it to my club meeting, and, show it off. Yeah. So we definitely, we tried to figure out, like, I was like, what can we do to basically make it lighter? So the two big pieces, and they actually ended up probably, like I said, they're probably a little over 3 feet long, and they're about 18 inches wide, and really the two big pieces were about that range, or 18 inches diameter, or that thick or close to it. So we figured, and then all the bullets were on one side of the tree, right?
Mm-hmm.
Because they'd been shooting in it. So
Yeah.
we figured we could just cut off basically the back half of the log. So we used a chainsaw and just cut like long ways, or down the middle of the log, and just basically remove the back half of it. And we left a section at the bottom, the original width, and it's like 4 inches thick. And so that worked out perfect because it acts like a stand. So now you can just stand this piece up,
Beautiful.
Vertically, where it's just standing up on its own. So we did that, and that it's still heavy. It's still probably like 100 pounds. I still can't really like pick it up by myself.
Wow.
But it's definitely manageable. I was able to take the one piece to the club meeting.
Oh, wow.
So with a little help, I can move it around. So we did that, and then my dad actually, we used a pinpointer, and we could locate. There were several bullets, visible, and there was a few bullets inside the tree that you could not see, but the pinpointer would pick them up. And there was I don't know, 2 or 3 like that. So my dad one day used a chisel and a knife and kind of dug down and uncovered those, so you could actually see them. So those turned out to be pretty cool, just to be able to see them, and they were a lot deeper into the tree than most of the other bullets, which is kind of unusual to think about. But but to kind of answer your question about preserving it, we used, after we did all that, we used like a wire brush and cleaned all the mud off of it, and all the loose like wood. And then we used a product called Tungle, like you can just buy it at a Home Depot. It's for preserving wood.
Yeah.
And we brushed it on it, and we've since brushed several coats on it, and basically the idea is that the wood still has water inside it, and so the idea is that this oil will soak into the wood and almost like fill in the places where the water was or used to be, and kind of preserve it. And that, a friend of ours here in town told us about that method several years ago, and my dad a couple years ago found a musket in the water that still had a lot of the wood left on it, and he used that Tungle for it, and it's held up really well. So we're hoping that's going to be the kind of the ticket for the preservation. Now it has cracked some since then, and we've done a few more coats on it, but that's what we've done. So now we're pretty well finished with it, although I may, over time put more coats on it. Hopefully this will work.
You would
just
think,
help preserve it.
Yeah, you would think if it's starting to dry out and it's extracting all that moisture and stuff, it's going to start shrinking and warping. And so, yeah, I'm sure you've done the best that you can given the circumstances, of course.
Yeah. The oil hopefully will soak into it.
Yeah.
I was also pretty lucky. A Facebook friend, Steve Phillips, and I kind of regard him. He's one of the, I would say, like experts on artillery, Civil War artillery over the years, and he's found a lot of muskets and such as that in the river diving for him. He reached out to me a couple of weeks ago, and I talked to him on the phone about it, and he told me about a couple other products that he has used over the years. So I've got if what I've already done, if it looks like it's not going to hold up, then I've kind of got a backup plan. I'm going to do what he told me to do, and he had some kind of a epoxy. It's kind of a real thin epoxy, and basically you coat it with it. So that's my backup plan.
Interesting. Well, I'm sure if you go that route, just document it on Instagram so we can see it. I'm going to be following along. I think it's just an amazing find. The pictures that you're able to capture with it and stuff. For the last hour, I literally been clicking just back and forth through all the pictures, looking at every single one of them, going, "Oh my gosh, look at that
story!" Right? It's a good
Yeah.
thing to do.
Oh yeah.
It's a lot of fun. I'm doing
Absolutely.
the same thing. But what did the guys at the club see? What the folks at the club think? Were they all thrilled for seeing it? I'd love to see it.
And that was really when it hit me, like how cool this is, because I mean, I've found some cool things over the years. But when I brought that in and I basically told the story I'm telling you now to the club members that night. But after I talked, kind of after the meeting, I mean, everybody was coming up there and taking pictures of it. And, that's when I kind of realized this is so unique. Nobody's got anything like this. That's when it kind of really hit me. It's like, wow, this is really just, so unique and just such a cool relic that it's just, just unique and rare, I guess.
Yeah.
But yeah, I never found anything like that in the past. People may find, belt buckles and such as that, and, every year, but I mean, I've never had something like where people, are taking pictures of it and stuff, really looking at it like that.
What a story, Tony.
It's amazing. I absolutely amazing. And you mentioned that your dad had found a musket in the river, earlier, a couple years ago, whatever. I don't know if we're going to be able to even get to that story, because that story deserves, time to make sure we talk about that as well.
Yeah, we're gonna have to have you back on for that one, Aaron. I think we're gonna have to. We're almost out of time here tonight, but we would love to have you back on, just talk about that story and some of your other finds too. I mean, boy, the sword pommel you found, I'm sure we'd love to chat about that. And some other stuff you've come up with that I've seen pictures of. I just have tons of questions on it for. But would you be willing to come back on with us sometime if we wanted to have you back on? Yeah.
Sure, anytime. Yeah, I did, and I hope I wasn't long-winded on this story,
no.
And that's part of the reason I've really tried to do a good job documenting all these steps since we found it to now, getting it out of the water, preserving it, and I've tried to take all these pictures, and it's been quite a just unbelievable process getting through this whole time. And so
it's amazing though.
Well, what a find.
Excellent story, right? Like the detail you talked about just brought us right there. You know what I mean? Like, so yeah, don't worry about it. Your story is perfect because of how detailed it is, as far as where, how you found it, what you were thinking when you found it. Like, keep telling that story, man, because it's it's great for the listener. It's great for somebody to be listening in, and they can follow you along. And if you do what I was doing, which was to go over to his Instagram page and kind of follow along some of the pictures and look at some of the stories and snippets of the stories he wrote over there to go along with the pictures. It's just awesome, because we all feel it's this amazing find. And we all love it when we find something like that, right? We've all found stuff that is the big wow factor for us. And it's different for everyone, right? Somebody, it might be the wow factor of finding a cool, rare token. Other times it would be, finding amazing stuff. We just had Brandon. Are you familiar with Brandon Sutton, Aaron?
Yeah.
Yeah. So he found that amazing find of all those Civil War relics in the river there in Arkansas. And it was like, you find something like that, you want to know every detail about it. And your find's right there just like that, this log in my account. And that's why I wanted to have you on. I'm just like, man, I want to hear that story because it's just very rare to come across that. We hunt, we hunt, and we hunt. And we find, and we're always looking for different things, right? Like here in Colorado, as we're hunting, we're looking for Native American artifacts, because they can be in the same areas and fields where we're hunting. So our eyes are always down, our ears are in a different direction, eyes are in a different direction. And, you're finding these relics and stuff, and it leads you to this log. And then you have to discover what's going on, because you got to figure it out. And then once you figure it out, then it becomes this whole other story of what do I do with it now? And how do I get it out of here? And then later, how do I preserve it? And then later, even what do I do with it now that I have this? How do I show it? How do I share it? and coming on our show as part of that, man. And I really want to thank you for coming on and letting us hear your story.
Well, thanks a lot. I know we're probably getting close to the end here. I guess I haven't really told the final count, I guess, of bullets in the log. The people probably would want to know that, but so like I said, we cut it up into 3 pieces, and the one piece on the end was kind of like the smallest, and there was 2 bullets still stuck in it, and then the piece on the other end ended up with 4 bullets stuck in it. But then the middle piece, the picture, I sent you a picture the other day, and it's kind of the prize piece. It's got 15 bullets stuck in it, and it's it's pretty cool. And I'm gonna give my dad the one piece, and my cousin, I'm gonna give him the other piece, so they can display it and keep it or whatever. But yeah, the big piece, that's the piece I took to the club meeting, and actually we have here in a few weeks, actually, there's a huge Civil War show in Franklin, and our club every year has a booth there, and we just promote the hobby and promote the club, and we also, many of us will, bring some of our relics just to show off. So I'm excited to be able to take it to the show, and there's a lot of guys there that are experts in the hobby, and as far as the dealers that sell. So I'm excited to be able to let some of those guys to see it, and
they're gonna love it, man.
Maybe giving me an idea of maybe a value, even though I have no intention of selling anything, but it'd be kind of nice to know, maybe more for insurance purposes. But
they're going to eat it up, man. They're going to absolutely love it. And you know what? I'll let you do that. It's okay. Before you ship that piece off to me, go ahead and take it to the show. Go ahead and show it to them. That's fine. And then, when you're done with that, then you can get it over to me, like you were saying off air.
Yeah.
And you No, that's amazing, man. It's take some pictures of that too, of people looking at it and stuff. You did send me that picture. I did share it with Tony. I didn't send it out anywhere else. I'm going to let you do that. I didn't want to put that out.
Yeah.
Because it is a cool picture, man.
I haven't really shared the kind of, I guess you could say, the final product, because, well, one, I just haven't had time to really get the pieces out and take some really good photos of them yet. So, but yeah, feel free to share it. So I'm definitely going to, be sharing that with everybody soon too, once I can get some good pictures of it. And there's one other little piece to it that I just thought of. Remember, I told you I broke off a couple of those bullets.
Yeah.
They were still in the wood, so you could see exactly where they were, like where I broke them. So we ended up gluing those back on, and there was a couple other spots. Yeah, there was a couple other spots that were, you could see like a little pocket where there was a bullet, recently. And so out of all those bullets that I found, we, placed a couple back in there and glued them back in there with like some kind of adhesive. But and that one other thing, so the total bullets that I found, there's like 21 in the log, and then there was 38 that I found under it, basically. So there's like a total of somewhere around 59, 60 bullets that I found just in this one tree.
Right.
Yeah.
Man, you had a number of people shooting. That's for sure.
Yeah.
Yeah, definitely.
That just wasn't a couple soldiers. That was a few people shooting. That's for sure. It's a lot of rounds. That's pretty amazing. Now, did you find very many relics at the camp across the river that you can kind of put out also and kind of say, well, here's the people that were shooting, they're in this camp, and here's some of the relics from that camp? That'd be a great little collection.
Way to add to it. Yeah.
Yeah.
Amazing.
Oh yeah, that whole area is just, over the years, pretty much anywhere in that area, there's definitely some good relics to be found.
Yeah. Well, hey, big shout out to your cousin Mark and your dad for helping you and coming up with the plan and the ideas and helping you out getting that log out of the water. We've got Ashley Lowe in the chat checking in. She wanted to let you know that they're all listening with mom and dad, cousin Mark. They're saying that your sister and niece are listening, and they're all really proud of you and the job you did tonight. And you did a great job tonight. Knew you'd be a good guest, man. And I'm just, proud that you would give us your time. Come tell us the story for sure.
Hey, I really appreciate it. I was excited that you asked me, and just, I guess kind of as this story goes along, it's fun to tell people and show the pictures, and just, this is definitely I always hate the term once in a lifetime find, but right. I'm pretty sure this is a once in a lifetime find for me, or probably anybody in this area, at least to this extreme, so I really appreciate you letting me come on tonight.
Yep. And absolutely, man. I appreciate you telling us the story. Everyone's, I'm sure, appreciated it and enjoyed listening to it. Tell you what, can you hold on just a second until we play the outro music, and then I and Tony will say our goodbyes off the air? You okay with that?
Oh, yeah.
Okay. Last words from you, and then we'll get to closing the show down. Again, you can find all of Aaron's links right down below. Links to not only the Instagram account, that we see all the pictures, but also to the Middle Tennessee Metal Detecting Club Facebook, and also their website. Go over there and check it out. Send them a message on Instagram. Say, hey, man, heard you on the radio, and great story, and best of luck in the future with that amazing find. But I'll give you your last word, and then we'll get to the outro, and then we'll say our goodbyes off the air. Go ahead there, Aaron.
Yeah, thanks again. I really appreciate it. I had a lot of fun, and I was glad to kind of meet y'all tonight. And I'll be just anytime if you want to have me on again, I'll be up for it. So thanks to everybody listening in tonight too.
All right, hold on. We'll get out of here in a minute, but absolutely, man, we definitely want to have you on again. We've got more stories to pull out of you, I'm sure. Tony, what do you got?
Yeah, I just want to thank Aaron for coming on, and we definitely have to make it a point. I would love to have Aaron and then his dad back on to talk about that musket. We'll just kind of leave that lingering out there. It's an incredible story, incredible find, but we definitely want to have you guys on and to talk about that, because that's another find of a lifetime, right? Oh my gosh.
Yeah, I think his dad might be listening. So just tell you what, Mr. Lowe, just think about it. We'll try to get you on next time with your son. That'd be an amazing story to tell. So
yep. And you can visit everything about me, 5280 Adventures, on YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, all that kind of good stuff. Just head over there, find it, send me some messages, check in with all the stuff that's going on out here in Colorado. I appreciate all the support, guys.
Yeah, and you can find me anywhere at Adventures in Dirt. Been on YouTube for a little while, and I also do all the other social media. So if you just search anything Adventures in Dirt, you'll be able to find me. And of course, right here on RELICS Radio, every Thursday night, we come to you live with guests from the metal detecting community, treasure hunting community, and love to hear from you. Love your suggestions. People have been sending me a lot of suggestions. Hey, you should have this person on, that person on. You guys should get some divers in there. You should get some treasure hunters in there. Maybe next week, we'll talk a little bit about the Forest Fen treasure. That thing's come full circle. Got to let you guys in on a little auction that's happening. If you want a piece of the Forest Fen treasure, you can get your hands on it. And I'm going to tell you about it next week. That's for sure. But until then, have a great rest of your week. Have a great weekend. You know what? Actually, we won't be on next week. That's Thanksgiving, right, Tony? We're going to take that week off. And so we'll see them again on the other side of that, right? Yeah, I think we'll take some time off, be with the family. So we won't talk to you next week. So happy Thanksgiving to everyone as you're out there listening in. Thanks for all of you that support the show. Come into the chat group. Man, we had a good time in the chat tonight. There was a lot of people making every wood comment they could come up with. The analogies there were flying. So everyone have yourself a great week. Have a great weekend. Happy Thanksgiving. And we'll talk to you next time here on RELICS Radio.
Thank you so much for joining us tonight on Relics Radio. We really do appreciate it. Be sure and join us live each Thursday night at 8 o'clock Eastern here on Spreaker, or you can catch the archive show at Relics Radio on Spreaker, iHeartRadio, iTunes, Apple Podcast, and many other podcast outlets. Please take a minute and hit the like button, and be sure that you follow us so that you'll get notifications of all of our upcoming broadcasts. Be sure and visit Digging with Seven and Adventures in Dirt on YouTube, and check out the Relics Radio Facebook group page. If you'd like to get in touch with us, then send an email to relicsradio@outlook.com. We'd love to hear from you. We hope that you will join us next Thursday night, and until then, get out there and dig some history.
Okay, and we're clear of the show.